Now, despite my controversial opinion of Sonic Adventure 2, you know that it's crap, there are certain aspects of it that I can't deny are great, such as the graphics, story, characterization, and of course one of the strongest aspects of any Sonic game, the music. From day one, Sonic has always been praised for having some of the greatest music of any game series. Even when the games are shit, you can always count on the music to elevate the experience. You know, most of the time. I mean, when even John Carpenter loves Sonic and his music, you know you've done something right. Now, while Sonic has mostly had the same two musical directors over the years, Jun Senoue and Tomoya Ohtani, each game aims to have its own vibe and musical theming to fit in with whatever tone the game is going for. Sonic Adventure songs focused on the level environments, to give off the right atmosphere to show the capabilities of the Dreamcast. Unleashed did a similar thing, with its globe-trotting themes. Shadow the Hedgehog featured grunge rock to fit in with its overly edgy tone, and Boom's soundtrack was slow and boring to fit along with that game. And that brings us to Sonic Adventure 2. Instead of doing something similar to the original Sonic Adventure, SZ2's level themes are a lot more focused on the character, as opposed to the stage. Like Sonic will mostly feature rock music, Shadow will be a little more grungy, Tails and Eggman will have a little bit more techno vibes at times, Rouge will be a lot more jazzy with flutes and shit. And then there's Knuckles. Probably the most bizarre level themes in any Sonic game. Not because they're bad, but just because they do not fit a Sonic game at all, yet somehow they still manage to fit perfectly. Each Knuckles treasure hunting stage is accompanied with a rap song in the background. Now, rap isn't something new to Knuckles. His theme song in SA1, Unknown from ME, revolved around Knuckles questioning his purpose in life, talking about his duty of protecting his island, comparing himself to the hero Sonic, and how he doesn't really need to rely on others, and as heard in the chorus he will believe in himself. Yes, those exact words are sang in both the Tails and Knuckles theme song in the same game. That's what I call theming. This is all before finally coming to terms with who he is, with the final verse reading, "Knock knock it's Knuckles, the blow thrower, independent flower, magical emerald holder. I was born by myself, I don't need a posse." Knuckles has come to terms with who he is as a person, and this was then carried over and exemplified more in the next game, Sonic Adventure 2. Since SZ2 had character-specific stages and didn't just feature the cast visiting the same locations as one another, it allowed to create tracks that fit the characters and not the location, and he did just that with Knuckles, taking the rap aspect to a whole new level, with each song talking about the current stage of Knuckles' inner turmoil while traveling through it. And for a while these themes remained as nothing more than a mere joke when talking about Sonic's history. This game has cringy rap music? Gee Sega, really letting this franchise go. But as the years went on, the collective view on the Knuckles rap started to shift, as more and more people felt like they could openly come out of the woodworks, without being mocked for saying, "You think the Knuckles raps in Sonic Adventure 2 are unironically good?" Yes, and I'm tired of pretending they're not. Kick the Rock, Dive into the Mellow, and of course a Ghost Pumpkin Soup, among many more. All these tracks are great and fit the stage perfectly. They almost managed to make the treasure hunting stages a little bit bearable. Although that's not to mention these controversial mild lyrics.
Yeah, Rouge, she's sexy and smooth. A double cross my thief, that's out for my Jews. I'm feeling her in mysterious ways. Stop being stubborn and think. Well, I guess you're right. You're damn right, Knuckles. I know.
What the fuck, dude? This is a kid's game. These raps are so iconic and connected to the character that even to this day they're being used. With his Team Ultimate Move and Team Sonic Racing being a remix segment of his theme from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Unknown from ME. I can't really tell which one, but if I had to guess, I'd say the original Sonic Adventure 1 version. It's definitely the more well-known one, and personally, if you ask me, it's a little bit better than the SZ2 version. Sadly, though, after Sonic Adventure 2, Knuckles' role in Sonic games slowly started to dwindle. Other than small playable roles in 06 and Black Knight, Knuckles got the shaft for a while in mainline games. After Black Knight, it took until Generations before we saw him again, and even then his roles in Generations, Lost World Forces are all unplayable. By the way, I'm talking about the mainline game, so I'm not counting Boomer or Mania. So with him becoming less and less significant, there was no real need to compose any more music centered on him. But something I've always been curious about, who even sang the lyrics for the Knuckles raps in that game? Does he still work with Sega? Does he know about the impact his songs have had in the fanbase? Let's find out. I always loved the little ending trailers they'd show in those, that hype you up for the next campaign. It was a lot more interesting than just saying, try another story.
Farewell, Sonic. Forever.
Well, I guess we'll look in the credits of Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, here we go. It appears they were done by Hunnid P. Let's just look that up and... Oh. didn't even credit him correctly. Ugh, that's gotta hurt. Growing up in Brooklyn, Hunnid P, otherwise known as
Emmanuel Armagam,
had always wanted to be a rapper and songwriter. So before we get into how he managed to get a job from Sega, let's go over his early career. Hunnid P began his rap career as a prodigy of music consultant Steve LaBelle. He was contacted by Sega, who requested a recording artist and songwriter for their game Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, I guess that is the career. According to, well, himself, he was given one day to write and record all the tracks in the game, and at the time was surrounded by Japanese people. But also, according to him, they apparently loved what he came up with, so it's all good. He wasn't allowed to play a build of the game, and was mostly just shown screenshots and descriptions of the characters and levels, which is surprising since the themes really capture the vibes of the stages. Is what I would be saying if Hunnid P actually created the themes. Contrary to popular belief, Hunnid P didn't actually create the backing tracks of any of the songs, he mostly just wrote the lyrics and recorded them. That was it. I'm getting this information from an interview. He did it a couple years ago back in 2016. It's 2 hours long, so we get a lot of info from it. Like, apparently he enjoyed playing the game and loved it alongside SA1, but also acknowledges that after Sonic Adventure 2, the Sonic games afterwards are all shit. I think there's a bit of bias there. This interview has a ton of gems. Like when a fan asks if they could make memes about him and he says, "Only if you promote me well."
So I mean, you know, it's all in fun, man. I mean, you know, if you're gonna promote me in the right way, that's all I ask.
This sure isn't foreshadowing of any kind. He also states that while working on the music, he never got to meet. So above all else, it's very impressive that the songs came out as good as they did. And I guess he agreed, and thought he had already peaked with his music career, because after Sonic Adventure 2, he didn't really do much. Not much was heard about Hunnid P for a good decade or so. It wasn't until around 2012 when he apparently just then realized that he had amassed this huge cult following for his rap songs, and I guess was just like, oh shit, I better jump on this bandwagon, I'm gonna be a rapper again. But how will he do this, you may be asking yourself? It's not like he can just waltz into Sega headquarters like, yeah, I made a couple songs for a Sonic game about, oh, I don't know, a decade ago, and I kind of want to do some more. So can you pay me, please? He had to build up some amount of hype to get their attention. So much hype that Sega just couldn't pass up on the opportunity to work with him again. So what did he do? He just flat out announced that he was working with Sega again on a new Sonic project. Everyone was hyped just like he had hoped. Rumors and fake leaks are nothing new to Sonic, but this is coming straight from the man's mouth. It's official. So we waited, and waited, and waited, and then Sonic Lost World was announced, and yeah, I don't see rap being the kind of music to accompany this game. Years later in that same interview, he had a very roundabout way of answering why he did this. Again, basically just saying he wanted to build hype, but according to him in reality, Sega won't even return his calls. How sad. But that won't deter him. Hunnid P never backs down. Hunnid P never gives up. He always gives 100% and nothing less. He's gonna come back from this even stronger.
Oh no!
I ain't gonna stay on this for long. He was arrested on March 21st, 2014 for felony weapon possession and was apparently released November 30th, 2015. Hashtag free Hunnid P worked, guys, we did it. So he's back. He's got a son now, and he's doing fan interviews after realizing how popular he is in the Sonic fanbase. And in the interview he mentions that because of Sega ignoring him, he now believes that the only way he's gonna make more Knuckles raps again is if he gets more involved with the fanbase, and starts collabing with them on fan songs and remixes and stuff. And thus we got songs like Catchy, Cypher, Fear No One, and Pretty Little Killer, which was a collab with another popular figure in the Sonic fanbase, Sammy Jones, who's known for her song covers and actually knows a lot of people who have previously worked for Sega, such as Pete Capella, Scott Dreer, and is currently doing a radio drama called Sonic and Tails R that stars Ryan Drummond as Sonic and Mike Pollock as Eggman, surprisingly. And after listening to it, yeah, if Sega ever wants to remake Adventure, they're fucked. On one hand, they can use the original audio, which has awful delivery, re-record it, but with Roger and the current cast, which would upset a ton of fans, or re-record it but bring back Ryan Drummond as Sonic. And I know this is the more unpopular opinion, but I don't think they should bring him back. He legit cannot do the voice anymore.
Really quickly, original voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. What does that sound like?
Hey, Iowa, this is Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog. All right. What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now you may be asking yourself, But Splash Dash, I thought this was a video about Hunnid P. Why are you spending so much time setting up this Emmy Jones person? Have you learned nothing from before, viewer? It's foreshadowing. Please just stop asking questions. Let me get on with that. Jeez. So we've covered Hunnid P's rise. You know, even though he hasn't had much of a career outside of Sonic and, like, went to prison and stuff, I'd say things were still looking up. Despite lying about working with Sega, he was still in the good graces with the fan base. They looked up to him. They worshipped him like the god he thought he was. But that's when we began to see a more malicious side of Mr. P. In July of 2020, Emmy Jones released a tweet longer that went over her experience in working with Hunnid P back in 2017 on the song Pretty Little Killer, along with a series of text messages between the two. According to her, the two had agreed to split the money that the song had made, but of course being released on YouTube it made fucking nothing, around $50, which Hunnid P refused to accept and accused Emmy of robbing him. She tried paying him a flat rate of $300, but he ended up refusing it and life went on. Cut to years later, and apparently he comes back trying to extort her for thousands, or else take the video down. This went on with him insulting her, saying she was a shit singer, a nobody, among more. Then going on to say sex was a part of the deal, and this just gets worse and worse. And this isn't just wild accusations, she's got all the proof too. So if you needed any evidence that Hunnid P is a scumbag, here it is. And that's a shame, really is. A lot of people grew up listening to his music, and to see that the guy behind it is so shitty must hurt a lot, especially if he was being shitty to you specifically. And when all this starts crumbling down and not even the Sonic fans will accept you anymore, there's only one card left to play. The dog barking in the background, great. The victim card! So a month or two before the Emmy Jones situation became public, emphasis on went public since he had been harassing her for years before, Mr. P tweeted out some interesting information that if true could look pretty shitty on Sega's part. He tweeted, "I really blacked out on the SA2 soundtrack. I put my whole damn soul in that project and never got one check but recognition for it. Sega, almost 2 decades later my work still bangs around the world and you just sit there like I don't even exist. At Sega, at Sonic Movie, I put in major work." Ignoring the fact that he tagged the Sonic Movie account, not the official Sonic one run by Sega, it appears Sega never even paid him for his work at all. That's really shitty, and people at Sega know that. The tweet got thousands of likes and many people came forward, telling Sega to fork over the cash. Everyone was sympathetic towards Hunnid, until someone asked the fatal question. "Hey, have you got any proof of this?" He was not having it. He'd block people asking, he'd respond telling them to shut the fuck up. "Real fans ride, fake fans try. I'm approved and stamped real one of all time. You can't question greatness. If you feel away, log off. Follow me, unfollow me, whatever. I've been eating, sleeping, shitting for decades regardless. My true, genuine supporters know that real." Complete and utter fucking gibberish. Alright, let me break it down for y'all. I still see absolute idiots to this day. At Sega, pay Hunnid P. And it's just embarrassing because you're feeding into this man's ego. This would be a different story and I'd be right there with you if he was actually not paid. So Sega just didn't pick up Hunnid P from the streets. He was given the job from Steve LaBelle, who was a record executive and music consultant. This man is not going to let his prodigy take a job for free or exposure, especially on a project like Sonic, who was really big at the time. I mean, they didn't even credit him correctly. It definitely wasn't for no exposure. On top of that, Hunnid P has a history of embellishing the truth, not flat out lying, but pushing something to its absolute extreme and wording it in a way that makes it seem worse than it is. I think this is a very similar situation from back in 2012 when he said he was working on a project with Sega in the hopes of building enough hype up so that Sega would actually want to work with him. Except since he kept getting his calls ignored, I guess he finally got it through his thick skull that Sega never wanted to work with him again. So instead of trying to suck up to Sega, he wants to try and get every last thing he can from the SA2 raps, while amassing a huge fan following in the process. So how does he do it? Says he hasn't seen any money from the songs and that Sega keeps ignoring him. What he means by this is that Sega gave him a one-time payment for his songs then and there back in 2001, but nothing else. He does not receive royalties anytime that a song is used in the future. Is that shitty? Kinda. It's how the business works, I guess. Is Sega doing something wrong though? Not in the slightest. Hunnid P signed the contract that stated he would not get any royalties, and even if he refused to sign it, Sega would have just not worked with him in the end and moved on to someone else, because Hunnid P, it's not a big name at all. If I recall correctly, the lead of the Japanese band Dreams Come True created the music for Sonic 1 and 2, and he receives royalties for the music. Again, I could be wrong about that. I remember hearing it a long time ago, but don't take it as a fact. Point being, they probably could have gotten royalties because of how big the band was. Hunnid P does not have that power. The fact that he refused to show any proof of not being paid shows that he's just trying to rally an army to get at Sega's revenge for ignoring his calls. And I guess this is also where I play a clip from that interview in 2016 when Hunnid P says that he did get paid for his work on the Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack, but doesn't get any royalties, basically confirming everything I said.
Wow, you know, if I had some kind of ties with royalty to this thing, I would definitely be, you know, I would have knew it then, because I would have been like, you know, where all this money coming from. So I would have definitely been in tune with it. It's just weird how you can deliver something so epic and make tons of money for somebody else, and they don't even acknowledge you in anything.
Whoops. And all this leads us to where we are today. Hunnid P's Twitter has devolved into him spamming random shit about stock market apps, and every once in a while will retweet the random post about Sega not paying him. His campaign has failed in every single way. On Halloween of 2020, he released a new version of Pumpkin Hill, called Pumpkin Pumpkin, which a few people were excited for, but his good graces with the fanbase have pretty much been destroyed, because of the payment issue and especially the Emmy stuff. And I mean, the song was shit anyway. It's a shame that someone that a lot of people respected, and whose work was held so near and dear to them, turned out to be such a piece of shit, but what are you gonna do, just add him to the pile. I've seen a few people question whether or not they can still listen to his music after all this, and I think it's finally time someone comes out and says it. The lyrics weren't even that good. I can sense it in my feet. Echidonia, that's what I'm representing. That's why I stay on point like every single day. He wrote this stuff in a day and it's painfully obvious. People like the Knuckles raps because of the godly backing tracks composed by the Chad, and this clown deserves no credit for them being as good as they are. He gets really pissy whenever people make YouTube videos about him, so I'm fully expecting a couple tweets thrown my way later, so go follow me on Twitter for that romp. And until then, fuck you, Hunnid P. I didn't know how to end the video, so that's it.
I have no